Hires all. So I'll be sharing with you the answers for your learning activity 4. So I just use this problem to make your life easier. So this is actually comparison of two samples using t-test. So I had a screen cap of this one. So a research study was conducted to investigate the differences in leaf length between the two rice varieties, variety X and Y. A study was conducted to examine this hypothesis. 12 leaf lengths were recorded in variety X and 10 in variety Y. So we notice we have here 12 samples and in Y 10 samples. Okay, another thing. We need to compute the appropriate t-test. Make a short conclusion based on the results using 0.05 level of significance. So we have here 95% confidence level. So first thing, we are asked to state the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis chi. So of course it's null. So we assume that they are just similar. So there is no significant difference between the leaf lengths of the two rice varieties. And the hypothesis or our alternative ones is this. There is actually a difference or a significant difference between the lengths of the two rice varieties. So let's proceed now. Then we need to calculate the means of the leaf length. So this is very easy. It's just dividing the summation of x to the total number of samples. So for this one, so summation of x is 401.6. This can be accessed through your calculators and divided by 12. So we have 33.47 here. And then we use here summation of x again for the second mean over n. So it's 263. This is actually the summation of these values for variety y and divide it by 10 because we only have 10 leaf lengths. So the answer is 26.3. Now we are required to calculate the variance. So to calculate the variance rather, we will be using this formula. So this is the sum of squares and this is the square of the sum, dividing it by the number of samples. First, we are going to compute the variance. This is actually the variance of the first variety X. So we use the values, the sum of squares is actually 13,470.36 minus, we just need to square this 33.47. So squaring this one, we have 161,282.56 dividing it by 12. And then over the df, or the degrees of freedom. To get the df, we just simply subtract 1 from our sample size. So the answer for this one is actually 2.74. And then we also use the same formula to compute the variance of the second variety, which is y. So again, it's the same formula, substituting, we will actually get this answer, which is 5.36. So ganun na po siya kadali, letter D. In each group, multiply the variance by the degree of freedom. So for group 1, so n minus 1, this is actually the degree of freedom times the sample variance. So we know that the sample variance for variety X is actually 2.74 times 11. So it's actually 30.14. And then this is actually for group 2. Okay. So sorry for this one. So n, or the sample found on the second variety minus 1 times the sample variance. The degree of freedom times the sample variance. So 10 minus 1, which is 9 times 5.36. The answer is 48.24. And letter A, we need to obtain the pooled variance by adding the two together and divide by the total degrees of freedom. So we know that in order to pool that one, we simply need to add this and the second for the second group. So we add 30.14 plus 48.24 over the 2df. So, diba yung kanina, n sub 1 minus 1, n sub 2 minus 2. So, negative So, -1 po plus -1, it's -2. Or simply 1 plus 1, it's 2. So, n sub 1 plus n sub 2 minus 2. So, it's 12 plus 10 is 22 minus 2 is 20. So, 78.38 divided by 20, the answer is 3.92. Yan po yung pooled variance. Okay? Then, calculate the standard error of the difference. So, SD, or the standard error of difference between the means. So, here's our formula for that. So, we have here 3.92. Ano ba yung 3.92? This is actually the pooled variance. So, pooled variance, or SP2, times 1 over n sub 1 plus 1 over n sub 2. So, we know that n sub 1 is 12 and n sub 2 is 10. So, 3.92 times 1 over 12 plus 1 over 10. We need to find the square root of this, but the answer is 0.85. And to calculate the t-value, so we use this formula. So mean 1 minus mean 2 over the standard error of the difference. So saan ba natin ako yung 33.47 at 26.3? Dito po siya galing, okay? Yung mga means po natin. I hope po naklaro po natin, ano? Tapos po, so, i-divide po natin siya sa 0.85. So, nanonotice po natin, ano, pagka hindi po natin alam yung sagot, patay po tayo. Kasi po series po siya. Susunod-sunod po. Yung sagot po sa letter F ay magagamit para i-complete natin yung letter G. So, ganun po yung mangyayari. Okay, so going back to this, calculating the t-value, we know that the answer is 8.44. I hope po na tama din po yung mga answers. So, for H naman po, we need to find the tabular t-value from the table of t distribution at df is equals to n1, which is 12 plus n2, which is 10 minus 2. So 10 plus 12, or 12 plus 10 rather, is 22 minus 2, it's 20. So let's check po, ano po yung value ng ating 20. 20 po yung ating df at 95%, it's 2.086. At 99% po, it's 2.845 po ang ating mga values. So we need to decide na po, kasi alam natin na 8.44 po yung ating computed t value. So since the computed t value of 8.44 is greater than the tabular t value, which is of course 2.086 at 95% and 2.845 at 99% level of significance, the null hypothesis is rejected and the alternative hypothesis is accepted. Hence, there is a significant difference between the leaf lengths of the two rice varieties. So, it does matter po talaga. Ganito po kasi yun. Diba? Sa pag-decide natin, if the computed t-value is less than the tabular t-value at 5% level of significance, the difference between the two means is non-significant. Pero pagka naman po yung ating pong computed t-value ay mas malaki po siya sa value, sa 5% level of significance, but less than 2 siya doon sa ating tabular value at 1% level of significance. Between the means po, or the difference between the means po, is significant. Okay? Para naman po sa computed t-value, which is actually greater than 1%, it means po it is highly significant. So, dito po sa case natin, mas malaki po siya sa 1%. So, it is actually highly significant. Kaya, I hope po na sa time na ito, marunong po tayo tumingin ng ating t-table distribution. Second example is this. Suppose a sample of 15 students were given a diagnostic test before studying a particular module, and then after completing the module, find out if, in general, the teaching leads to improvements in students' knowledge and skills. Compute the appropriate test, make a short conclusion based on the results, use 99% level of significance or 0.01. So ito po ay given. Alam po natin, to compute for D, or the difference, we simply need to subtract B from A. So na-notice po natin ano, meron pong mga mali doon sa ating learning module. Kasi po medyo mali po yung values na na-input. So I hope na medyo napansin po ninyo yun. Okay? So A minus B lang po doon po sa ating learning module. So meron pong mali doon. So I'm happy because some of the other students are actually asking me na, ma'am, meron pong mali. Okay? So ito po yung mga values na yun. So
18 minus 22, of course, it's negative 4. 21 minus 25, it's negative 4. 16 minus 17, it's negative 1. 22 minus 24, it's negative 2. 19 minus 16, it's 3. 24 minus 29 is negative 5. And 17 minus 20, it's negative 3. Okay. So, meron din po tayong mga values dito as continuation. So, 21 minus 23 is negative 2. Hanggang umabot po tayo dito sa huling entry po. So, next po is we need to state the null and the hypothesis. So, for null hypothesis po, there is no significant difference between the scores of a diagnostic test taken by the learners or the students before and after studying a particular module. Na kahit daw mag-aral pa sila before and after, wala, same yung scores nila. Ang pangalawa naman, or alternative, ang sinasabi dito, there is a significant difference between the scores of a diagnostic test taken by the students before and after studying a particular module. So first po, so find the difference between treatment A and treatment B. So of course, A minus B. Yun na po yung ating table kanina. Ito na po yun. For C naman po, obtain the total. Okay, summation of A, summation of B, at summation of D. So input lang po natin ito lahat sa calculator. Bale, ang mangyayari po, i-add po natin itong values na ito, yung sa A po, tapos ito rin po, include po natin sa ating term. So the answer for that is here, it's 282. Tapos add din naman po natin yung sa B, is 307, at saka sa D, it's negative 25. Now, we need to calculate the means of A, B, and D. So, means po, kaya i-divide lang po natin doon sa sample size. So, yung ating pong summation, 282, 307, at saka negative 25, i-divide po natin each sa 15. So, meron po tayong mean na 19 for X, or mean of A, for mean of B is 20.47, at saka for mean of D is negative 1.67. So, we need to find po the summation of D squared. So, D squared po, so this is actually what? Sum of squares. Kasi po, di ba, yung values po natin ng D, balikan po natin yung D. So, ito po, negative 4 squared, 16, negative 4 squared, 16, negative 1 squared, 1, negative 2 squared, 4, 3 squared, 9, negative 5 squared, 25. So, tignan po natin. Ito po yung mga values. Ayun. Klaro po ba? So, ito po yun, 16, 16, 1, 4, 9. So, hanggang maabot po natin yung last na value. So, total po na answer dito ay 159. For F naman po, we need to find the variance of D. So, we know po the equation. So, we just need to substitute. First is, of course, sum of squares minus the square of the sum over n, over all n minus 1 the df. So, 159 minus negative 25 squared over 15 divided by the df, or degree of freedom. So the answer for this is 8.38. Then we need to find the standard deviation of the difference. So of course, the standard deviation is just the square root of the variance. So 8.38, we need to have a square root of this. It's 2.89. Then calculate the standard error of the mean. So it's just the standard deviation over the square root of the sample size. So it's 2.89. Ito po yung sagot natin kanina. Here po, divided by square root of 15. So the answer is 0.75. Then calculate din po yung t. So to calculate the t, we just use the mean. Ito po yung value kanina. Negative 1.67. Ito po yun. Mean po yun, di ba? So ito yung ginamit natin. Over the standard error of the mean, which is 0.75. So the answer is 2.23. It's a negative. Then obtain the tabular value at TF, which is n minus 1. So of course, this is, for this case, we are going to use the T table. So at 1%, of course, DF natin. Ano ba yung DF natin? Ano ba yung sample size? 15 minus 1 is 14. So, i-check po natin. So, malalaman po natin. I want you to check your distribution table. At 0.01 alpha, it's 2.977. So, hanapin lang po natin yung TF across. Tapos, ay down po pala. Tapos, across po, hanapin natin yung 0.01 or 99%. So, for this, since the computed t value of 2.23 is less than the tabular t value of 2.977, 7.7. The null hypothesis is accepted while the alternative hypothesis is rejected. This means that there is no significant difference between the scores of the diagnostic tests taken by the students before and after studying a particular module. So that's it. Thank you so much and God bless us all.